And we are back with another exciting, kind of an all-new David Pollack Show, now powered by We The Studios. And tonight, we are the 1-year anniversary of the October 7th attack on Israel. We're going to take a look at where we are now. Are we getting any closer to ending the terror in Israel? And we're joined by George Papadopoulos, and I cannot wait to talk to him later. We're also going to be talking about Hurricane Milton crashing in on Florida and the recovery efforts still stalling in Appalachia. Where's FEMA? Where's Kamala? And Elon takes the stage at a Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. All of it is coming up right after this.
Squeeze, struggling with the cost of everything from gas.
How do you feel about the economy? Raising interest rates.
Iran's most intense strike ever against Israel.
Get up, puppet.
What, Dave? What?
We got work to do.
Puppet Carlson reporting for duty. I'm driving, Dave.
You're not driving.
I am driving, Dave. I'm in the Cybertruck.
Come on.
I'm gonna regret this.
All right, I don't know about this. Are you sure you want to try to drive?
Dave, Elon made this sucker to drive itself.
All right.
Let's boogie. I got this, man.
Can you even reach the pedals?
Sit down and cool it.
Puppet, pick a lane.
Chill out, Dave. I'm a non-binary driver.
Let's get to work.
Wait up, Dave. I'm the star of this show.
Hey, Puppet, you got a lot of love in that new open, right? What'd you think?
Man,
Open up the show.
I know that was pretty slick, Dave. You're looking sharp in that video, Dave. You're looking like a boss.
You wear a tie, I gotta wear a tie. But we're back in an all-new, exciting David Pollack Show featuring my plush, patriotic pal, Puppet Carlson. And I'll tell you now, we're powered by We The Studios. I'm so excited about that. You guys might have seen them on a couple episodes ago. And we loved their mission so much. We loved what they were doing, creating non-woke entertainment, TV for normal people, that we said, you know what? We're coming along for the ride. And now our show is powered by We The Studio. Puppet.
Dude, that is exciting, isn't it, Dave?
It really is exciting.
I mean, We The Studios is great. Non-woke entertainment. We need that more than anything. Yeah. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, me too. And I'll tell you what, driving with you in that Cybertruck was probably one of the scariest things ever. What people don't realize is you're a real puppet. You're like a real live puppet. And people were really freaked out seeing you drive that Cybertruck. And it was very interesting. And that particular Cybertruck didn't actually have self-driving. So
no, sadly it didn't. I didn't find that out until after I got in the driver's seat, Dave.
Yeah, I didn't either, which made for a very interesting experience. But we're super excited.
I think you needed a new pair of shorts after that.
Suit pants, actually. I need suit pants.
Well, I meant undershorts, Dave.
Well, assuming I wear them.
Woo!
I'll tell you.
We got a commando on this show, people.
God. Speaking of commandos, we are 1 year outside of the attack on Israel last October 7th. Some festival goers, just innocent people, were hanging out at a music festival in the desert. And all of a sudden, terrorists on parasails or something come landing in and start shooting people, kidnapping people, throwing grenades in bunkers where people were hiding. Then they started moving through neighborhoods, terrorizing families. I don't need to go through specifically what happened because we have young ears on this show. But it was a very awful and dark day, the worst terrorist attack in Israel's history, possibly one of the worst terrorist attacks since 9/11.
Yes, but I'm sure the Biden administration thinks January 6th was worse.
Well, that's true. January 6th was worse.
Yeah.
To Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And walls, to the window, to the walls. And we're 1 year out. Now, Israel has launched a giant offensive. They have targeted all of Hamas as much as they could. And now they've gone after Hezbollah in Lebanon and parts of Syria. And Israel's not messing around. They left a bomb in Iran, taking out a Hamas leader. They have targeted Hezbollah militants with beeper bombs. The bombing is now in Beirut, hence our title, Bombs Over Beirut. And now Iran and Hezbollah have responded. There are rockets hitting Tel Aviv, and I have video of that, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And
I think
Haifa,
they killed both the head of the Hezbollah and the second in command, correct?
yeah, and the third and the fourth and the fifth. They're not messing around. I mean,
No,
it,
they're going for it,
but it
Dave.
certainly has risks of turning into a more regional conflict. And we'll talk with George Papadopoulos about that in just a moment, which I'm super excited to have him on the show. He's a good friend. We've
Me
talked
too.
a lot. Yeah, and you should. And he's, if anybody knows anything about this, it's George. So I'm excited to get his take on it. Also, we're going to be talking about Hurricane Milton heading towards Florida. That's going to be
Ugh.
interesting. Yeah, and then we got to talk about the recovery effort that isn't happening. And actually, like apparently, FAA has blocked or FEMA, I'm sorry, has blocked efforts in having people help them in the recovery. It's insane. We'll talk about that. Makes me especially nervous because we have another hurricane coming, and it's coming actually right up our
Oh,
alley, Puppet. We live
I know.
I live directly where the little line is going. And that's concerning me a little bit because we can't rely on FEMA. We're in Florida. We got Ron DeSantis. He'll take care of us. And then we'll talk about that. And of course, there was a massive rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Trump returned to the place he was almost assassinated. And so we're going to talk about all that with our panel tonight, Puppet. It's going to be a fun show.
I'm excited. I'm excited, Dave. You know, I am a little nervous about the hurricane, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna hunker down in my trunk, and and hopefully no water comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Let's yeah, you'll be fine and dry in your trunk. I'll be standing on furniture, but we'll see how that's going to work. Well, let's without further ado, let's bring in our guest that I'm super excited to have, Mr. George Papadopoulos. Welcome to the David Pollack Show, featuring our plush pal Puppet. So excited to have you, sir.
What's up, George?
What's going on, Puppet? What's going on, Dave? Congratulations on the new show, and keep it up. Non-woke is the way to go, so congrats on the new platform.
Thank you very much. You know, we have to have non-woke entertainment for our audience because everything they watch has liberal messaging in it. It's terrible. And people just want to be entertained. People just want to hear things. They don't want to have the subtle indoctrination. And so we do need it, definitely. So we're 1 year out of October 7th. I want to get your take, one, about where you think we're going, considering we're 1 year out. Hamas seems to be pretty weakened. We have seen additional attacks from the Houthis in Yemen. We've seen Hezbollah continually attack Israel. Iran is getting involved. What's your take from October 7th last year to today? Where are we at, and what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a very somber anniversary. We're talking about one of the worst terrorist attacks in modern history, not just in Israel's history. It is the worst terrorist attack in Israel's history, but quite frankly, it's one of the worst terrorist attacks in global history over the last 100 years or so. I mean, over 1,400 civilians were massacred. These weren't soldiers. These were young kids, mostly, just having a good time at a club or at a rave in the desert, like so many people in their early 20s like to do, especially right before university or right from coming back from school. So it really was as astonishing as it was really predictable what happened. And why do I say predictable, right? Because this problem has been festering for years now. The only thing that's really changed between the conflict between Hamas and Israel is that there are now regional players involved, which makes this much more dangerous. This isn't simply a non-state versus state war. This now has the potential to suck in the major powers, including Turkey, now obviously Lebanon, Iran, Russia, and potentially even China. And when I'm looking at this from that perspective, I don't look at it from the microcosm of the deaths of the civilians, which is absolutely horrible, but I'm looking at it from what the future holds, and it has a potential to create a regional war and a lot more destruction and deaths on both sides.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because it seems that the Hamas and Hezbollah, and they seem to like to hide their weapons in houses. They like to hide their weapons in hospitals. They like to hide people they've captured around their weapons. It seems they use casualties almost as a way they wage war. And I think Israel's done a great job avoiding casualties, considering that's the way they fight. But I mean, looking from the casualty side, because you mentioned that, and that's what a lot of people have complained about. How do you think Israel's handling this from a civilian perspective, considering how Hamas and Hezbollah fights?
Well, look, let's look at Gaza first, right? Gaza is one of the most densely populated territories in the world. I think there's over 2 million people, and in a very small territory, with most of them being between the ages of 15 to 25. And obviously, then you have the Hamas fighters who simply are being instructed by their billionaire leaders, who are hosted in Turkey and Qatar, of how to wage this war while they're hanging out in five-star hotels. That's actually the most disturbing aspect of this entire thing. The leaders of Hamas actually aren't even in Gaza. They're hanging out in Iran. That's exactly why Hamas's political leader was assassinated in Iran. You have other Hamas officials who have been assassinated in the UAE about a decade ago. You have others who are in Turkey, some in Qatar, and they're all being financed one way or another and supported by these countries. So they're basically telegraphing to the foot soldiers from their five-star hotels, you must do what you have to do to suck in the Israelis and just to continue to highlight our despair and desperation. How do you do that? You have to allow your civilians to be massacred. You have to put them in harm's way because of the densely populated territory that they're in. You have to weaponize mosques. You have to weaponize hospitals. And you have to put weapons in the hands of children, men, and women who aren't even so-called Hamas fighters. So given all of that, it's impossible for Israel, when they're retaliating in their overwhelming way that they have, using their force, which is the strongest military in the Middle East, you're going to have civilian casualties, but there's really no other way to actually uproot Hamas. And at the end of the day, the end goal for this objective, I believe, and Israel has been very vocal about this, is to actually give the Palestinian people a future, hope and future. And the only way to do that is by getting rid of Hamas. And the new generation of Palestinians, hopefully, they're able to live side by side with Israelis, demilitarized and without Hamas, and create a new Singapore or Dubai in the Mediterranean. I think that's what the objective is. But of course, to get from where we are to that, there's a lot of bloodshed, and it's absolutely devastating and very sad.
So it seems that no matter how many commanders are killed, no matter how many rockets are fired or blocked, it seems that this is never ending. It seems to be ongoing. But there is one, and you pointed this out, there is one consistent thing, and that's Iran's support and their proxy war against Israel through Syria, through Lebanon, through Yemen. And I think what people don't know is that Syria, for example, or Lebanon, let's take Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon is probably more powerful than the Lebanese army. And they are funded and they're supplied weapons through Iran. So it's civilians in Lebanon, civilians in Syria, civilians in the Palestine territory that suffer at the hands of Iran fighting Israel through all these other proxies. At what point, and maybe it's Donald Trump getting elected, but at what point is the finger going to be pointed at Iran and saying is enough? Every time a missile is fired from Syria, every time a missile is fired from Lebanon, anytime a missile is fired from Yemen or from Palestine or from a boat, every time a missile is fired and we can trace it back to Iran, we're holding Iran responsible. George W. Bush had that policy. Basically, if you harbor terrorists, basically you are responsible for the activities of that terrorist. Isn't it time that, I mean, I guess we suffer from a lack of leadership, but it isn't time we hold Iran responsible for their role in funding and fueling this terror? Because without holding Iran accountable, this doesn't end, right? You cut off one head and the next one grows, doesn't it?
Well, that's why Donald Trump's foreign policy was so successful, right? Because he was able to defang the Iranian regime. He imposed punitive sanctions on them. He cut them off from global trade, and he even threatened other countries that if you're going to buy Iran's oil or natural gas, not only are you going to have a horrible relationship with the United States, but we're going to sanction you. That's exactly why Iran was going to the negotiating table. Even after Trump got out of the horrible Iran nuclear deal, they were on their knees. Iran didn't have the money to actually even finance or support the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza. They were simply in a survival mode. And that's exactly why you had the Green Revolution there. You had these other, forms of revolt during the Trump administration within Iran itself. The regime was on the verge of collapse, both from the political perspective and at the economic level. But fast forward 3.5 years, what do we have now? Iran is essentially a tertiary partner of China and Russia. They're acting as if they already are under a nuclear umbrella. There are now reports that they have even detonated a nuclear weapon. That's not confirmed yet, so that's all speculation. But at this point, you have China buying their oil, Russia arming them, Iran giving drones to Russia in their war in Ukraine. And with the money that the Biden administration has once again given them, they are now able to then launch this war against American allies, American soldiers, and Israel itself with all the money that the Biden administration has given them. So, of course, they're at the center of all of this destabilization. But now Russia allied with Iran and Turkey involved against Israel makes us even more dangerous. So when we're looking at this region, we can't just focus on Iran as a destabilizing force. We also have to look at Qatar. We have to look at Turkey, how they have actually stopped all trade now with Israel. They're calling for, war crimes against Israel, and they're even saber rattling, saying that they might invade Israel. This is actually coming directly from the president of Turkey's mouth, Erdogan. So that's when Trump gets reelected, which I believe he will in about a little over a month. We have to look at this in its totality and potentially impose sanctions on much more than just Iran and actually revamp our relationship with some of our partners in the region as a result.
Yeah, if you recall, of course you recall, Trump in moving the embassy to Jerusalem. In Trump, he united the Middle East and actually was on the verge of creating peace in the Middle East. And of course, then we had COVID and an election, and the rest is history for now. I do believe Trump has the ability to bring peace in the region. I mean, look, you have to follow this thing all the way to the top, right? And as you mentioned, you have China and Russia. Now, it has to not be in China and Russia's interest to help Iran and embolden Iran to fund proxy wars against Israel. But where we are right now with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's weak leadership, you have Iran launching missiles into Israel and everybody acting like, now that's the thing that's going to set off the regional war. That is the big deal. They're treating Iran like Iran is a superpower, just like you said. They're putting Iran on par with places like China and Russia, as somehow Israel defending itself against a rogue nation like Iran. And then all of a sudden, Israel's supposed to treat them carefully because of the backing of Israel and China. I mean, of Russia and China. Now, I believe that with strong leadership, Iran would be weakened like they were when Trump was president. And I think there would be less motivation for China and Russia to really get behind Israel and Iran and hope that they get in line. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that China and Russia is and I think you already alluded to this, is strengthening Iran in a way, but with Trump as president, do you think Iran would get weakened again and China and Russia might pull back some of their support and actually bring stability to the region?
Unfortunately, I think we've crossed the Rubicon. I think we are now in a new sort of Cold War. I think new alliances have formed, and I think countries like Russia and China and Iran all have actually made public pronouncements that they want a multilateral new world order. George H.W. Bush called it the New World Order after the fall of the Cold War that ushered in neoliberalism, capitalism, etc. Then you had the expansion of NATO and the America superpower experiment that lasted up until, let's say, 2010. Now you have these new countries, including North Korea, which are openly saying, we cannot stand what America is doing. We're here to create a new order of newly aligned countries in this new geopolitical axis, including countries in Africa, including countries in Latin America. And I'm talking about the BRICS. You have even countries like Turkey, which is the second largest member of NATO, saying we want to join BRICS, China, etc., Iran, Pakistan. That is actually what the United States is up against right now. And all of this is in order to collapse the US dollar. We know that Saudi Arabia has actually gotten off the petrodollar. And moving forward, if Trump can't actually get Russia and China from creating this new access, which seems inevitable after 3.5 years of Biden, not only do I see the collapse of the US empire, but even more dangerous, I see the collapse of the US dollar and our economy. And usually when you have these type of conditions, that's when an emerging power like China and a superpower like the United States get into conflict, get into war for that final battle. We've seen it going back to ancient Athens and Sparta, the same exact situation. What we're facing today is the most dangerous moment since the end of the Cold War.
Now, I was worried about the hurricane. The hurricane seems like small potatoes now,
Yeah.
considering what you just said. So do you think we're beyond? So do you think we're beyond the point in order to this is where we're heading, and then what's the time frame then before the BRICS nations assert themselves and what you're suggesting happens in the collapse of the U.S.? I mean, we talking months? We talking years? I mean, what can people in America do to protect themselves from it, if anything at all?
Well, look, this is exactly why you have this conflict growing right now on the African continent, where you have U.S. soldiers being kicked out of countries there like Niger and others. You have France and Russia, which France was a massive former colonial power, being kicked out by Wagner Group. You have members of Wagner Group being killed now as a direct result of this new force in Africa. And the reason because of this is because these countries are vying over influence in Africa for this new global economic order. You have a lot of these countries in Africa, you have these countries in China and Iran and parts of Europe who are basically saying we're not interested in being part of this US economic order. And the only way I think we're going to stop this is twofold. I think Trump has to come to a deal with Putin, because actually since 2016, Trump's thesis has been very simple. We want to cooperate to some extent with Russia so they don't align with China. Because if China and Russia align, look at just what happens. Not only do you have this growing military force, but you have this massive economic trade and the potential to destabilize the dollar. So I think you're going to have to find an agreement in Ukraine that's going to and probably loosen sanctions on Russia in exchange for loosening this death grip that these countries now have potentially on the US dollar. It's going to take a lot of political maneuvering after this disastrous last 3.5 years. But I think starting at the Ukraine resolution is the first step. But with China, it's going to be very interesting because Trump has been very hard on tariffs. Whether Trump is going to impose those type of tariffs, where there's a greater negotiation when it comes to this, he's actually, unfortunately, going into a more perilous moment in 2024 should he get reelected than he did in 2016 after the disastrous Obama years. So I think those are going to be his first two steps, dealing with both Russia and China, and then Iran will be something later on with potential sanctions.
Wow, so this really is the most important election of our lifetimes. I mean, I don't think if Trump doesn't win, it's not long before the scenario you set up will probably come into fruition, right?
Yeah, I think this is definitely the most important election in modern American history. And it's not simply, I mean, usually during a normal election, we're talking about taxes, we're talking about a couple foreign policy issues. Now we're talking about the soul of our nation, our standing abroad, and and an entire global system that the U.S. has supported both at the economic level and the military level since the end of World War II, on the verge of collapse. That's what this election is really all about. And I think should Kamala Harris get reelected, we will have Obama's fourth term, and it will result in utter devastation here in the United States at all levels.
George, you have seen firsthand the duopoly of the government, like how they play one side and actually play the other side behind closed doors and do things that I think as Americans we would hope and believe that our government doesn't do. And so when it comes to all this turmoil that's going on right now, do you believe that this is somehow a purposeful act, or is this just inept leadership or something else?
You know, you could have incompetent leadership because Biden is simply not there. And Kamala is just a creature of California institutional politics When she ran fair and square during the last primary, she registered as an asterisk. She has absolutely no grassroots support whatsoever. She basically is part of the Obama machine now. And that Obama machine has basically thrown out the red carpet for the DJs, the Hollywood stars, and the mainstream media to basically prop her up.
You're saying
So-
she's a puppet.
she's the real puppet. She's the real
Yeah.
puppet. So given that, when you look at the border with a simple executive action could have been secured. So when you look at incompetence versus intentionality, just look at the border. The border could have been sealed with a stroke of a pen by Biden. It continues to be open. The FBI just today is warning of a potential imminent attack, terrorist attack, from God knows which type of group that has infiltrated the southern border over the last 3.5 years. So when you look at it like that, they're just trying, I think, to destroy America from within and to usurp and replace our identity with something completely foreign. And it goes to the woke ideology. It goes to Fortune 500 companies right now firing people or not hiring them unless they subscribe to this type of nonsense that is completely alien to America. The different agendas, the bloated spending, the open border, and just the World War III, the potential of World War III abroad. If this is simply incompetence, then I think we really need to shut down every single international affairs university that we have in America. We have to shut down the Wharton School of Economics, Harvard Business School, the Hoover Institution, wherever these people are getting educated from, because they're simply inept and incompetent. I think it's something a lot more nefarious than that. I think it's intentional.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, to bring people even more good news, supposedly Iran's plan against United States is exactly like you mentioned, is to embed terror cells within the United States to destabilize us while they're attacking over there. I mean, the wide open border poses so much of a threat to national security that I don't even think people realize because the media's not covering it. The other the other tragedy of the border is the human trafficking side that media won't even talk about. I mean, Tim Walz mentioned it. Not Tim Walz. J.D. Vance. I'm a mess today. I can't keep my words straight today. But J.D. Vance.
You're loving Tim Walz today. You keep mentioning Tim Walz. You must be thinking about him at night or something.
I guess. There's a storm coming, and all I can think about is Kamala and Walz and the storm they're bringing. But you have J.D. Vance point out the fact that the human trafficking situation across the border is really, you talk about separating families. They're losing kids to human trafficking, but the media won't report on any of that. Yeah, Kamala's failure and Biden's failure, I think we'll be hearing about it for generations, and hopefully when Trump's reelected, we'll be on a much better course. Here's what I'm going to do, George. I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to bring in our panel. We'll talk a little bit more about this issue very briefly, and then we'll pivot and talk about the hurricane recovery, more Kamala's failures, the hurricane recovery, the impeding Milton, and of course, we will talk about this massive rally in Butler. And so all that is coming up right after this. So don't go anywhere. David Pollack Show will be right back.
It's never been more important to secure your hard-earned wealth for you and your family's future. FinSec Life works to offer industry-leading customer service to help successful individuals and businesses protect their wealth. Whether it's a business succession plan, estate liquidity, or a variety of life and long-term care policies, FinSec Life can help deliver peace of mind, knowing that if something happens, you or your company is taken care of. Visit finseclife.com. That's FINSEC life.com. Securities offered through Valmark Security Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Valmark Advisors Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. FinSec Life is a separate entity from Valmark Securities Inc. and Valmark Advisors Inc.
Business owners, are you sick of dealing with those big-name telecommunications companies that leave you frustrated with terrible customer service and then lock you into long-term contracts? That's why I want to introduce you to my friends over at Public Telephone Company. They are an industry-leading VoIP provider offering all-in-one business communication solutions that are completely contract-free with competitive pricing. But perhaps the best part, they're all about supporting their customers with US-based customer service, and they're always willing to go the extra mile. Don't let your phone company drive you mad. Call Public Telephone Company today at 877-314-4080 or visit them at publictelephonecompany.com. That's publictelephonecompany.com.
Welcome to Raised Right Books, where each tale unfolds with gentle conservative lessons. These stories come alive with hand-drawn illustrations and playful rhymes. If you've been looking for ways to teach your little patriots valuable life lessons, look no further. Discover these delightful stories at raisedrightbooks.org.
We're back, Puppet. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Half of the show. I like this funky music. What do you think, George? You like the funky music?
I do. It gets you in the groove. You know, I'm feeling groovy right now.
I don't know, Dave. Sometimes the choices you make. You're talking about Tampon Timmy, and you're playing slow, sexy music, and you're freaking me out.
I just like, it sets up the groove for the second half of the show.
I think we need, I don't know, some happening music. Some like fast. I don't know.
I can put on some next week. I'll pick something less groovy. To be honest with you, I just picked the song on my soundboard because the commercial break ended before I planned on it, and I'm like, oh no! And I got the groove, so I just played it off.
I think yeah, you're gonna be playing Barry White or something, and then you.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would. Anyway, what do you say we go to the panel, George?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. And you know who I'm going to bring in? Well, I don't see her camera. If you know one of our panelists that has her camera off, George, maybe you can suggest that she turn her camera on. Oh, she's there. I see her. Okay.
We got her.
Let me bring a very special panelist tonight. Some people might know her as the lovely Italian Simona. Other people might know her as his beautiful wife. Welcome, Simona, to the David Pollack Show. How does it feel to be sitting across camera from George here?
Hi, David. I just feel it's never too far from me, you see. Even we try to separate physically. And hi, Puppet. I really am enjoying your show and seeing you together in action.
Oh,
Amazing.
Thank you, Simona. It's great to see you again.
Hi.
And I'm also going to bring in I think she's she's the most frequent panelist, right? I think she's basically our staple panelist. I mean, at this point, I'm gonna have to give her credit on the show or something.
Yes, for sure.
I will bring in Miss Ali Leger. Her real name's Ali Leg, everybody, but I call her Ali Leger because it sounds better. And if you're gonna be on TV, you have to have a TV name. I mean, you have like Papadopoulos or what is it, Mangiante?
Mangiante, perfetto.
See,
maybe Puppet can say it better.
Papadopoulos,
Mangiante.
And then you got
great.
Leger, it works.
Leg. So that's why I have to do Leger. You got leg. It can be Ali Leg.
No leg.
Can't be called me leg. I don't even have a leg.
No.
Well, I did in that video. I had. I was pressing the gas in that Cybertruck. Did you guys see that? I was a driver.
That was so cool, Puppet.
Incredible.
Yeah, you weren't sitting in the car. It wasn't incredible. It was terrifying. We've talked about a lot of terrifying things this show so far.
Pedal to the metal. Let's pedal to the metal, you know?
It really was a pedal to the metal. So let me, I'm going to show you.
Someone's got reverb.
Somebody's feedbacking.
There's something going on.
Hold on. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to show a clip real quick. This is Haifa right now.
בתוך הכיכר, תראה את הרכבים. שתי הרכבים שלי ושלו, אחי, בלי חלונות, הכל התדפץ. תראה איפה זה נפל, אחי. פה, באמצע הכיכר. תראה את זה. Yo.
So what is happening right now? That was that video that I showed you. That is a rocket attack landing in Haifa. And George and I were talking about this with Puppet. And Puppet was here, but George and I were talking, like the adults were talking, and Puppet was here. Well, we were talking about the attacks. It's still ongoing. Israel continues to be susceptible to rocket fire from Iranian-backed proxies. And here we are a year out from October 7th. Simona, I want to get your take on it. I mean, here we are a year out.
Well, it's just an unfortunate situation that was created by this disastrous presidency of Joe Biden in first place that created the complete chaos outside the United States and impacting foreign policies and balances, geopolitical balances of the world. We know what is unfolding and we have a take on it, but all we know, are we waiting for an October surprise? That's the question. Obviously, they won't give up easily. These people have taken their threat, the Trump threat, to the extent of trying to physically eliminate him. They failed twice. They tried to weaponize the justice system to prosecute him, convicting him of 34 counts. They tried everything in their power, including creating chaos and creating the situation worldwide where the United States is not anymore the leader, is not more the pacifier, is not more this stabilizing force, but it's losing its strength. So instead of leading by strength, it's losing by showing all its weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, what's your take?
No, I agree with everything she said. I think Israel is I mean, the whole situation is just really terrible. When you have, terrorists that just want to completely eliminate an entire group of people, it's reminiscent of other situations throughout our history. And when you have a superpower like America who is experiencing weak leadership, what do you think is going to happen to the world? So this is all a result from inept leadership that is most likely done on purpose.
Let me ask both of you, look, we've all been watching this for a year, and a lot of Americans don't pay attention a lot to what happens in the Middle East. It's like, oh, it's the Middle East, and especially with every thing, it seems like every crisis, every day it's a new crisis. Remember when Obama was president? It was like that. There was always every day there's a new crisis. It seems now we're in a new phase where everything's a new crisis, whether it's natural disasters, trains exploding, border, everything's a crisis. The president leaving.
Climate change, Dave. It's climate change.
Climate change on January 6th. And
those two things have caused all of this.
Right. But the thing is, while Middle East is happening and people aren't paying attention to it, as George mentioned before the break, this is I was joking that I'm worried about Milton coming, and then George tells me about Milton coming, and then George tells me that the whole world's going to end, and I'm like, oh, well, then in comparison, that seems like nothing. What's your take? And I'll go to you first, Simona. I mean, are you frustrated that the world is basically ending and nobody is paying attention, no matter how serious this is?
Well, David, I'm extremely frustrated. I've been working on different film documentaries in the last year, trying to expose what's really going on, starting from Ukraine, Russia. But of course, instead of people paying attention to the facts that we are allocating our tax money to a country we have absolutely no business into, besides Joe Biden since 2016. So we are letting this escalate to potentially World War III, and this will be the end of it. All we can do is try what you do, what I do, what everybody in this panel do, is to be vocal and to awake people, to raise awareness. But at the end of the day, every time we are always demonized by the left media, and every common sense statement becomes Russia disinformation. It's an expression of not even question anymore. They're so desensitized to see what is happening that say, oh, okay, I don't agree with that. It's Russia disinformation. So we don't even know how to approach critically news information. So it's very important to raise awareness, and it's a very scary time. And I'm personally deeply frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ali, I mean, I think the other side of this is, while the left is running around talking about racism, I think anti-Semitism, and equity and diversity, remember all the letters. But it seems anti-Semitism now has gotten basically reborn under Biden and Kamala's leadership. I think it was the day after the October 7th attacks, all the free Palestine protests started on those college campuses. Remember, they're still going on. You have gays for Trump. You have gays for Trump. You do have gays for Trump, but you have gays for Palestine. You have all this.
Which doesn't make any sense. That's a complete oxymoron.
Let them live in that world. But basically, we're in a place now where anti-Semitism and Jewish hate is now almost being supported by the left. People like Rashida Tlaib holding a sign that says war criminal, and Bibi Netanyahu is speaking in front of Congress. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris doesn't even meet him on the airplane when he comes here to speak. I mean, is this administration fueling anti-Semitism despite running around talking about though everybody else being racist and anti-Semitic?
This administration is fueling all kinds of division. It doesn't matter if you're whether it's anti-Semitism or anti-whiteness or anti-American or they seem to be pro everything.
Anti-male.
Right. They seem to be they don't even know what a woman is and they're sitting here and they're not pro women, but they are pro killing your children. So it really is everything that they support is antithetical to what America's foundation is. And my problem and my frustration is that we the American people have forgotten our power within our governance. We have to give consent in order to be governed by these people. And when I say that, I mean that you have to get out and vote. Two things that General Flynn always says. Tell the truth, just no matter the cost, right? Whatever the cost is, tell the truth because you have to be able to speak the truth. I mean, Puppet Carlson, your maker, Tucker Carlson, right? Part of your maker, he
That's
speaks
not his
this
maker.
all the time.
That's not his maker.
Okay, well, his wish.
Mike
All right.
Lindell. No, Mike Lindell. He
Oh,
made
we're
a
not going to
wish
go into the story.
on a
Let me finish my
falling
statement.
star.
We'll
Well, no,
talk
it's
about it later.
important. Tucker Carlson had nothing to do with Puppet. He was just
Okay.
he just took that image because Tucker was such a great conservative that when Mike Lindell made a wish on the falling star, he ended up looking like Tucker. How many times have you been on this show, Allie? Go ahead.
A lot. So much that I need credits. I have a promo code too. No, I'm kidding. But so the second part is local action equals national impact. And in order for you to have national impact, you have to vote locally. You have to be active in your local area. And in order for you to be politically feared or politically respected, you have to be politically feared. And what I mean by that is you have to understand your role in your governance. You have to know what your rights are, how they're protected, what the proper roles and responsibilities are of those that are elected that you hire to serve you, we the people. And if you don't understand that, we can help you. You can go to momsforamerica.us and I can help you figure that out. But it is important for you to have your role in our governance. Otherwise, we will continue to perpetuate what we're currently seeing with the people that are, Hamas terrorist sympathizers that currently sit in Congress right now. Congress has the power to do so much, but because we the people have fallen by the wayside and have abdicated our power to people that do not have our best interests at heart or our best interests as Americans as a whole, we're getting what we deserve. So you have to be active.
Well, speaking of people who don't have our best interest at heart, the FBI continues to investigate the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting, and Trump defiantly returns to Butler, Pennsylvania, this time with Elon Musk alongside him. Check this out. This was awesome.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Well, first of all, I want to say what an honor it is to be here. And, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire. And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot. Fight, fight, fight! Blood coming down the face. Now, America is the home of the brave. And there's no truer test than courage under fire. So who do you want representing America? Yeah, absolutely. And I think this election, I think it's the most important election of our lifetime. This is no ordinary election. The other side wants to take away your freedom of speech. They want to take away your right to bear arms. They want to take away your right to vote effectively. You've got 14 states now that don't require voter ID. California, where I used to live, is just passed a law banning voter ID for voting.
George, I mean, it seems that Elon's hitting all the points. It doesn't seem like those were prepared remarks. It seemed like that was you just speaking off the cuff. But he was saying a lot of the things that we all believe. I'm sure you watched that rally over the weekend, and of course, I think Trump showed up and was like, "Where'd I leave off?"
Mm-hmm.
So When you hear Elon speak, I mean, I'm assuming you agree with what he's saying. And what did it feel like to see Trump return to Butler? I mean, and of course, plenty of security this time, right?
Yeah, kudos to Elon Musk because for purchasing X, Twitter, because without him, we wouldn't have a public square to even have a free and fair election. We'd simply have the intelligence community and big tech, along with their Democrat donors, putting their finger on both the truth and our democratic process. And you just have to look back, forget 2016. I mean, and all the insanity that went into that with the CIA and the FBI and the weaponization of government. Just look at 2020, when the intelligence community, those 51 intelligence officers, suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story that tilted the election arguably, forget the shenanigans, just that one critical piece of information that if it was validated and spread throughout the United States, that this family is basically a crime syndicate and that you should not be voting for this person because of the corruption all around the world and he's going to be a horrible president, we would not have been dealing with the last 3.5 years. We would not have had this war that we're talking about between Israel and Gaza and Lebanon and potentially Ukraine and Russia and Taiwan and China and all of this instability that we're seeing in the African continent today as well. People keep forgetting it's not simply the Middle East and Europe, but the African continent right now is up in fire. You have Latin America, which has tremendous issues. You have conflict in Venezuela. The whole world is up in collapse. And that's all because people were lied to. So when I saw Elon Musk go to Butler and fight with the president, given what he sacrificed to do that, his reputation, potentially his business. I mean, at the end of the day, Elon Musk is a businessman, and putting it all on the line to support candidate Trump and potentially President Trump, it was just incredible. So, and just to go back to what you said about the assassination attempt and how he survived that and how he went back to the same place where he almost lost his life, where he kept fighting and fighting and fighting and seeing over 100,000 people there. I mean, if he doesn't win this election, just based on what you've seen about around the country and the type of support he does, and I have absolutely no idea what this type of democratic process we have in this country is, whether we do have election integrity or not. And I know that's why President Trump talks about it so much. So Elon and the people watching your show and the panelists here are all doing our job, and that is to get President Trump reelected to save America.
And yeah, that's really where the fight is, because we're in a place where we have to keep telling the stories that the media won't. I mean, and I think we've seen this the most with the fact that we still don't have answers out of Butler, Pennsylvania. The fact that they tried to minimize the second assassination attempt in Palm Beach. I mean, between a dishonest media and a dishonest Department of Justice, it is up to us to continue to tell these stories that the media won't. And this is why Elon's platform, X, as he says, it's the #1 place in the world that people get their news from now, and rightfully so. So we're breaking the code of the fake news. Simone, I want to ask you, I mean, are you surprised that we still don't have any answers about what happened in Pennsylvania? And then looking at the amount of security that they had at this one. They had snipers on that roof that was too steep, by the way, to put snipers on the last time. And it seems like, so here's the question. Was it negligence? We still don't know. Or was it intentional? What's your thought when you see the amount of security this time versus what the day he almost got assassinated?
Well, there is nothing intentional for me in this case. It's obvious there is actually a concerted plan to expose Donald Trump to this danger. This comes after, as I said, the attempt to eliminate him from the political scene by the senseless prosecutions, ungrounded prosecution, and when everything failed and his polls kept raising up, here we come to this situation. Of course, we know whoever has been done attention to what happened. Many people reported the shooter on the roof. Nothing has been done. I mean, it's unbelievable the level of negligence to be casual. This is not an accident. This is absolutely not an accident. We have to be very much aware of this sinister plan to kill Donald Trump, to eliminate him from the physical world at this point. I'm not being catastrophic. I think I'm being realistic. We assisted to a second attempt to his life, and I'm sure this won't be the last. The level of security we must employ is absolutely the most sophisticated we dispose of, and we need to pay attention to these forces that preach the democracy, they preach liberalism, and actually they are the most intolerant toward the opposition, that they can't accept that we, the people, want Donald Trump in power.
Yeah, absolutely. And it scares me when you say it won't be the last one, but I think you're right. I mean, everybody seems to be gunning for him literally because of the importance of his candidacy. I mean, you already heard George talk earlier before the break of how important his election is to the stability of the economic system in the country, let alone the stability of the republic. And you have the Democrats trying to fundamentally transform the country. He's in the way of that. Like he says all the time, they're coming after us. He's just standing in the way, and certainly we've seen that with that. I want to pivot about other catastrophic things. And Allie, I'm going to go to you first, but I'm going to show you guys. Now, there's no audio. I just have to show you what this monster Milton looks like real quick. Check this out. I mean, that is a giant 180 mile per hour wind.
Goodness gracious.
This was from earlier. I'm going to put like a picture over the screen here. Hold on a second. This was the track, and I know I'm covering up some of you guys' faces, but at least we could talk over this one. This thing is 180 mile an hour winds. That was as of the 4 p.m. advisory. There's a new one out during the show. I haven't checked it yet because I'm here entertaining everybody here. But it looks like it's going to hit Tampa Bay. And this is where, near where our dear friend Ali Leger lives, is a major hurricane. This is very, very, very serious, especially considering the storm surge. And I want to point out to you guys something here with the storm surge. So they're expecting, that's not the right picture. They're expecting 10 to 15 feet of storm surge into Tampa Bay.
Lord.
And just so you know what 10 to 15 feet looks like, here's a topographical map of Tampa Bay. This is 3 meters here on these barrier islands. And I know, Simona, you know what meters are because you know the metric system. But so that's probably about 9 feet here. And we're talking 12 feet of storm surge. These islands could be completely covered in storm surge. And that is the seriousness of this storm. We're watching it very closely. I am in line as well. I'm in Central Florida. So after it's done with Allie, it's coming to me. So we're all watching this very closely. And I'm going to tell you why I'm so concerned about it. I'm concerned about it because of where's my video? Because of this.
Claiming that money set aside by Congress for disaster relief is instead going to migrants. But the White House and FEMA saying that is just not true.
I mean, it's just categorically false. It is not true. It is a false statement.
FEMA says that money that was appropriated for Helene victims, they are not getting because instead that money is going to migrants. FEMA says that is not happening.
The White House pushing back against those allegations, releasing a statement that says this, quote, "This is false. The disaster relief fund is specifically appropriated by Congress to..."
FEMA spent all the hurricane relief money on immigrants. It's a lie.
It's on Donald Trump supporters to not just swallow his lies whole.
To put falsehoods aside, like the idea that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants, which is just not true.
Funding is also available through FEMA's Emergency Food and Shelter Program to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Also announced a competitive process for the second tranche of funds under the Shelter and Services Program. We are very focused on getting the dollars out the door as quickly as possible.
So now the White House says that for those cities that they know are receiving an influx of migrants, there is somebody from FEMA, that federal emergency management agency, ready and willing to really help those cities when it comes to management of these influx of migrants, including reimbursing some of those cities.
The federal government is sending money to cities and states caring for migrants. $1.1 million, $30 million, $8.6 million, $128 million.
Yeah. Meanwhile, here's Kamala Harris.
Relief and assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met.
Wow. $750. It's like that scene in The Jerk. Remember with Steve Martin back in the day? He's like, what is it, like 50 big ones, or he didn't know
$50.
Yeah. Here she's like, $750 you guys are getting.
They should offer that to Zelensky.
Right.
Yeah, he'd be like, whoa, $750
billions.
Big ones.
Right. And then the other day, so Zelensky's getting billions, Puppet. She's pledging support to Lebanon. She has given migrants billions of dollars, and Americans who are trapped underneath feet of mud in Appalachia are getting 750 big ones. And here's the best part.
I'm so glad she's black, though.
What's that?
I said I'm so glad she's black, though.
Yeah, she's black and a woman, though. I mean, so that's good.
Kamala? Well, we talked about this. That isn't proven yet, and we're not making up things on this show, so we don't know if that could be.
David, it was funny, okay?
The best part about the $750.
David might actually be black and a woman. We're not sure yet.
Well,
still checking
I
on
can
his
choose to be whoever I want to be. Puppet, don't misgender me.
He's the DEI hire. It's okay.
On this show, he is.
You're the DEI hire. Puppet's the PEI hire. Puppet equity and inclusion. That's actually a new promo for the show. Puppets equity is inclusion. $750. I'm going to make this point eventually, guys. We could be here all night. $750. It's a loan. It's not even freaking money. It's a loan. They can't even give people who lost everything $750. They're lending it to them because you know what? Zelensky needs that money more. These migrants need the money more. It's pretty terrible.
These people need their college program in gender studies paid off first.
It's exactly right. And here's what the destruction that the $750, the big ones, are going to cure. Towns completely destroyed.
750 ought to handle it.
Yeah, 750. Bodies they're finding in trees from the water.
Yeah.
And Kamala Harris does a photo op on an airplane with a blank sheet of paper. Goes and pretends
their phone not plugged in.
Right. She pretends she's assisting with hurricane relief by filling a couple of bags in her suit. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's FEMA is doing whatever they can do to make it difficult for recovery. And I got one more video for you, and then we'll talk.
In there, and it is the primary means of communication.
You had conflict with Buttigieg over this.
We delivered thousands of terminals and got all the way up to the areas where they wouldn't let us go any further. And then we were like, okay, we're going to send helicopters in and find people who are stranded and give them Starlink. Which I think is, and I think they wouldn't let us land because there was an FAA notice that said in order to land, you have to know who you're going to meet with to land. Now, the problem is we're trying to deliver internet communications. People don't have internet communications. We don't know who they are, but then they can't reach us because they don't have communications. Do you see the catch-22?
Yes, I do.
I mean,
but that's not happening.
That's about intelligence. So, I mean,
but that's not happening. It's a lie. Don't believe it. It's a lie.
Yeah, no, of course, this is all lies. I mean, Simona,
it's Trump's false information.
Do they want? Do they want these people to die? Do you remember when Kanye West said that George Bush didn't care about black people? Does Kamala not care about Appalachian people?
They care more about Ukrainians, right? They send so much more money to Ukraine than to our people, and she's the worst place to talk about black community. We have this video that became viral. How she actually she was in California. DA of California, she was actually persecuting black families. She's actually a cruel person, an evil person, and she showed it up again one more time. But what your video showed also how partisan our media, they are always ready to attack Donald Trump, even over his good deeds. And here we have Kamala Harris offering a ridiculous amount of money, $750 for such an incredible disaster. And we are praising her. We don't say anything about her. I mean, there is a collusion between the mainstream media and our commanders-in-chief, which is outrageous for This is not a republic. This is not even like a democracy in a sense like of freedoms. This is literally becoming the Soviet Union. That's why they keep rehearsing Russia, Russia, Russia.
That's exactly right. Allie, considering where you are in the line of this, the worst part of this storm, how does it does it make you concerned at all?
Absolutely.
That FEMA's already has no money left because they gave it to all the illegals apparently, but not. I mean, how much confidence do you have in this recovery efforts? Lucky we're in Florida and you know your neighbors will help. But I mean, this has to concern you, right?
Absolutely, it concerns me. I do think that I do have confidence in our local government, right? Our state government. DeSantis, I mean, built a bridge in 3 days, right? In Siesta
Yeah.
Key. So he's capable. He shows leadership right where it's needed. And I think that because of his strong leadership over the past, several years when it comes to natural disasters here in Florida, which is something that we are kind of used to, the people follow him and they respect that aspect of him. So while I am concerned about FEMA, I'm not as concerned as I think other places would be, considering we have a great governor and a really good legislature. So, but what I do want to make a point is that our Congress can fix this. The House can use the power of the purse to completely fix this. And the fact that there hasn't been some kind of emergency call back to the House is like quite concerning. Like, where is the urgency to fix the problem that we are clearly seeing? It's worrisome, and I think more people need to pay attention. And you need to remember this and vote. Don't let them forget. Don't ever let them forget that they're gaslighting the crap out of you. They want you to not believe your eyes, not believe your ears, don't believe eyewitnesses, don't believe the videos that are out there, don't believe the people, trust the government.
Yeah, I agree with you. George, I mean, could you imagine what the difference would be if Donald Trump was president?
Yeah, and also, can you imagine the difference if this hit New York or one of these major Democrat cities where all the big donors live? I'm pretty sure you'd see FEMA finding dollars like magic, and that money would be growing like mushrooms as well to earmark immediately. And to go to Allie's point, absolutely, where's Congress? Obviously, you do have strong leaders at the state level in some of these states that have been affected by this particular issue, but more has to be done. And of course, Joe Biden is nowhere to be seen. Kamala is showing her true colors by barely registering or as a helpful person, let alone a serious candidate. And if Donald Trump was elected, you would actually probably see humility. You would see grace. He's actually gone out of his way to go visit these victims as a candidate. Can you imagine as president, the way he did when COVID hit? He rallied the troops. He stopped, he closed the borders down to prevent this COVID virus from metastasizing. I think when something like this strikes, we have to look at how Donald Trump did act in the past. And he did handle COVID, I think, in a very excellent way at a time when no one really knew what was going on. When he had people like Fauci backstabbing him and giving him fake information, he still went with his wits. So if he was elected, because obviously this is going to be a major issue for the next year at least. I mean, these people aren't going to recover this month or next. This is a devastating issue. He's going to rally those troops. He's going to allocate money, and he's going to assure that those people in the states that have been affected get the resources that they need, and to try and prevent from something like this ever happening again.
Yeah, absolutely. Puppet, I'm gonna go last word to you on all of this. I mean, you are also your cotton-filled self is in harm's way, but I don't think you can get injured, right? Don't you just bounce off of things? So maybe you're not as concerned. You might get waterlogged or something.
I am definitely afraid of the water. I don't swim. I don't float. Dave.
Mold is bad.
Yeah, mold is bad. You think the manhole's bad now? Just wait.
I didn't bring it up tonight. You did.
No, I know, but I wasn't bringing it up in the context that you normally bring it up, like where you want to touch it. And so, anyway, what I'm talking about here, Dave, is I am scared, but I've got a trunk, but I'm afraid for everyone else, and I'm definitely afraid for those people out on the coast, because what you were just looking at, those photos and videos of what's going on in North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee, that really is going to be probably nothing compared to what Tampa Bay looks like when a if a Hurricane 5 comes slamming into that bay, which has not happened since I think like the 1800s or something.
Yeah,
Like something crazy.
It's going to be serious. I mean, it's something we all have to say, pay close attention to. Well, I'm going to try to stream live during the hurricane, Puppet. I mean, I'm going to try to bring everybody the views of what's happening. I mean, if look, I got this platform, people are curious, and if I'm going to, why should I be able to have all the fun by myself? So
let's do it, Dave. I can't go outside, but I can.
I mean, you could put on a raincoat or something.
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
I got a raincoat.
Yeah. George, Simona, Allie, thank you guys so much for joining tonight. We really appreciate you, and we'll talk to you guys again real soon. Hopefully, you come back again real soon. We end the show now with a funny video. Now Puppet has criticized me about all the funny about the videos not being funny.
No,
so
that is not. You keep saying we're gonna end with a song.
Okay, I got a song tonight. I got a song that I think is going to be better. So we had a very serious
funny
show.
Video.
I'm going to end us on a funny song. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Good. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Good
Thank you, guys.
See you, everybody, and remember.
Oh. Wait. I cut off your line. Remember what?
Remember, the fleece stops here.
All right. Now it's time for the funny song.
That I had to go poop and she told me to close it down. She posted up, sitting on the stoop, scrolling through my phone. Sometimes I get lost in the noise from the peaceful bathroom pain. I'll be missing for hours, but I'm just here on the can. Every time I sit down, my legs fall asleep. I'll just be yanking and yanking new sheets. I'll be using up all the TV we own, double flushing, hoping and praying it's gone.